Got a quote for you. He who fears he will suffer already suffers because he fears. That's by Miguel de Montaigne, I think is how you say that. French guy. So he who fears he will suffer already suffers because he fears. We're going to talk about this quote today a little bit. My name is Tally. I'm a life and personal development coach, and I have the honor and the privilege of getting to work with leaders to create lives that they love living, that are centered in a place of joy, firing on all cylinders, creating a life that they love living. So we're in a series right now called Words of Wisdom, and this quote today is what we're going to talk about. Fear. Is fear something that you notice in your life? And I want to talk a little bit about what is at the root of that and how we can eliminate so much of our own suffering. So the quote again is, he who fears he will suffer already suffers because he fears. And this is, man, I remember having an aha moment around this when I realized that so there was a season of my life when so many of my fears were actually happening. Like things that I feared could happen in my life actually were happening. I had some really major medical issues with my youngest son. He actually died on a table in front of me, which was terrifying, and they used the paddles and brought him back to life. That was like one of my greatest fears realized. Relationship, just there were multiple things, finances, there were like a lot of my greatest fears all wrapped up into one season of my life, and all of them were happening at the same time. And it was really interesting to notice that as deeply painful as that was to go through, one of the ahas for me was that any of the fear of that happening didn't actually protect me from the pain that you're in when you're going through it. So all of the worrying about it or fear of it happening didn't change my experience of it. It didn't do anything to support me in that moment. A lot of times we find ourselves in fear because we think if we can imagine the worst case scenario and like emotionally prepare for it, then it's going to be less painful in the midst of it. Not true. My experience was that was not at all the case. It's just painful because it's painful and you're in the middle of it. And the other thing that I realized is that when I was in the middle of it, even though it was really deeply challenging, there was suffering in it, there was pain in it, I had so much grace in the moment that I was in it. I didn't have that when I was worried about it or when I feared that different things could happen in my life. There was no grace available to me. There was no, I guess, like presence or sense of comfort or sense of not being alone in it when I was fearing it. But when I was actually in the middle of it, I had so much connection to source. I had so much comfort. Even in the middle of the pain, I felt so wrapped by love. I felt so much, even connection to joy, which was really surprising to me. When I was in the middle of what was so challenging, there were so many beautiful gifts that were available to me in that moment. And I realized that if I would have not spent any time worrying about that, any time trying to emotionally prepare for things that could happen, any time in fear, if I would have not had any of that, I would have found myself in the exact same place. But now I had all of these beautiful gifts for me in the middle of it that I didn't have available when I was fearing it. And I realized how many more moments of my life I had spent really almost experiencing the pain that I was like now in. I had experienced it over and over and over again, fearing it, but I didn't have any of that grace available to me in the moment, and it didn't protect me. So I realized, man, fearing something is actually such a waste of my mental energy. It's such a waste of my emotional energy. It's such a waste of my time, my focus, my attention. When in those moments, fearing what could happen, I could have been present to those moments. I could have been enjoying, and who knows? It actually, I think having fear about something often attracts it into your life. So possibly letting go of the fear of it might have avoided some of the things I actually went through. So there's that too. But when we fear something that could happen in the future, we actually are wasting the moments of our time and our day then. worrying about something that could happen, when we could just be enjoying the moment, knowing that whatever happens in our life, we're going to have what we need in that moment. So for me, having gone through having some of my fears realized, it helped me really get that I don't want to waste any of my time worried about the future. I'm just going to be fully in the moments that I'm in, be present to those, be connected to all of the love and the grace and the peace and the gifts that I have in that moment, knowing I'm going to have what I need in the next moment. So I don't know if that makes sense, but it was a huge evaluation for me of time that I had wasted being in fear about something and how much of a waste it was in my life. So here's the quote again. He who fears he will suffer already suffers because he fears. And there is suffering in that place of worrying about whatever might come down the pike. But if you just know, I will be met in that moment, whatever it is that comes, with what I need. I'm going to get what I need for the moments that I'm in, and I can enjoy fully the moments that I have available to me today. Whether it's, there's another quote by a guy named Graham Cook, and he just says, every day is a day of grace. There's either grace to endure what is happening, or there's grace to enjoy what is happening. But every day is a day of grace, and I love that. I love how that ties into this right here. Like some days are just challenging days. They're days of growth. They're days of opportunity to learn. They're opportunity to expand into something that we're not already experiencing or having access to. Or there are days where we just have grace to enjoy what's happening and delight in what is present. So whatever it is, knowing that the grace will be there for you, and that fear is just, it's pretty counterproductive. There's not a lot of upside to being in fear. So it's a gift today to just enjoy the moments that you're in, to either enjoy or to grow. So blessings. I hope that supports you a little bit today, and we'll be back again tomorrow with some more words of wisdom. We'll see you then.